Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Lorraine Wright. I'm with Rocksolid GIS, and I've been working with IGIC for, well, basically since its inception. I would like to welcome you and thank you for attending. I have in front of you, you should be able to see what we're calling our story map that basically describes our project and then takes you through a few steps to teach you how to use the actual GIS component of our project. And it also shows you how to access each of the documents. The title of the story map is the Historical Land Survey Documents Pilot Project for Indiana, Marion County, Clarks Grant, and other pilot areas. On the left, you will see bullets, and each of these bullets takes you to a different, you could say slide, but a set of information. And as you click down the side, you can see the title of the individual sets of information. I'm going to talk about the who, what, where, when, and why of the project. And then, like I said, I will step you through the components of the GIS portion of the mapping software so that you can access the map and the actual documents themselves. If you've already been through this project and you come on and you say, oh, I know how to use the project, I've learned about the project, I want to go directly to the map, you can go right here to the map. And the map looks like this. This is the GIS map that you can access the townships, and from the townships you can access the historical documents. I'm going to step through the story map. The first bullet, on the home page. Basically, this project discusses our project. It talks about the General Land Office. That was inception in the late 1700s, early 1800s. I don't remember the exact date that it no longer became the General Land Office, but at a point in time it was transferred to Department of Agriculture, and now it's called the Bureau of Land Management. But when the General Land Office was created, that's when our public land survey system was developed. And from that public land survey system, we now have our township range and section information that defines our properties. The Marion County pilot, basically, we digitized a lot of documents and we tried to figure out a way to create a project that you could access all the documents that we're accumulating. And what we've done is we've linked the historical documents to a mapped, digital township map, township range map. The survey township was used to link the documents to the map. The pilot was created using ArcGIS Online software. That is a free software that you can go in and access my project or IGIC's project and other projects that IGIC has created. The pilot area is this area on the right, and we've attached 4 different sets of documents to the Marion County project, and I'll talk about those. And then there's an Indian reserve that we had in Cass County, and we had one document that described a portion of the principal meridian and baseline, and then we have Clarks Grant added to that. When we talk about the ArcGIS Online application, that's what this map represents, and then the story map is all the information here you have in front of you to describe it. And if you need more information about we call it metadata, or basically about the project, you can go in and click that, and it'll bring up the metadata about the project. This is the summary that you'll see, and then this is a longer description with all the information you need. And if for some reason it's not there and you need other information, let me know, because I will update it and make sure that's available. We have terms of use, and then we have tags, which we put all these tags in so you can search online to find our project. And our credits, unfortunately, I can't do paragraphs or lines, but here we have credits for all the different components of the project and how we've created it. So if you click there, and then there's another place you can access that information. I talked about the public land survey system. I don't know how many are familiar with it, but I just want a brief overview. This is our state. Our principal meridian and our baseline is how the township and range are described in Indiana. The township and range are measured based on this principal meridian 02 or principal meridian 01. And this principal meridian is actually over in Ohio, but when you're describing property, then you use over here, you're using the principal meridian 1, and this is principal meridian 2, and then the baseline. And all property will always refer to the principal meridian, the township, the direction. The numbers start at 1 going north all the way to, I think it's township 30-something north. And it would be described as township east or township west. I'm sorry, excuse me. Township north runs from the baseline north, and then township south runs from the baseline south. Baseline, I hope I didn't confuse anybody. When you're using the range information, the range will be measured range west or range east, and it starts at 1. Here is your first township or first range, starts in this area. This is a diagram of your township and its components. It's approximately 6 miles by 6 miles all the way across the state. So over here, one township would be 6 miles by 6 miles. And then that township range is divided into sections, and there's 36 sections within a township. So when you're measuring a legal description, it usually says quarter section of the quarter section is then divided up by quarters. So it'd be a quarter of section 13 of township, whatever this township is. I just wanted to get some terms out there for acronyms. If you're not familiar with them, Bureau of Land Management is now the agency that took over all the information from the General Land Office. And this is their website. The Indiana Geographic Information System is the computer software that's used basically to create the mapping portion of our project. General Land Office is abbreviated GLO, Indiana Geographic Information Council. Here's our website, and if you ever have any questions, you can go to our website. We have information about our pilot there and all the different activities about IGIC and information. We have a blog there that Phil keeps up to date with all kinds of good information. And I'll talk about this later, but the IU Scholar Work site is this final destination where these documents that I'm going to be talking about are housed. Terms, I use the word documents, records, field notes, and plats interchangeably. So don't get confused if I say records versus documents, or I call them field notes and plats. Just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. And like I said, you can either do the bullets or you can scroll with your fingers. And it is sensitive, so sometimes it's hard to keep it where you want it. About the story map, We're going to explain the who, what, where, when, and why, and demonstrate the project. As I showed you before, the Marion County Historical Land Survey Documents Pilot is the actual mapping component, and the story map is what I'm going through right now. If you're looking at historical documents that we've been talking about, these are examples of some of the historical documents. This would be considered a plat map, a sketch map or plat map. This would be your notes, and this is another example of a plat map. Important information to know, the browser for the GIS portion of the map software, it only works with Foxfire and Chrome. We have a disclaimer so that you understand that we're not liable for the information. Sphere Surveying Company is the company that Clayton Hogston has. My company is Rocksolid GIS, and then the Indiana Geographic Information Council is providing the project as is. We make no warranty, but we're in good faith doing our very best work trying to get these documents accessible online so that you can use them, because they're very important historical documents. They are public domain, can't be sold, because whatever we're doing to make these available, if we're getting funding to make them available, then they are available to the public. Each document is a unique document. There are no duplicates of the document in this project, but what you might see is duplicate links, computer links. The file names are based on a statewide naming convention. You'll see when I click on the map, you'll see multiple links, but each of the links are based on the file name, and then you might see multiple links if it's associated with more than one township or if it's associated with more than one county. When opening the historical documents we're going to be talking about, you have to be patient because they have been scanned and they're pretty large file sizes. I just want everyone to know that it does include, the documents includes blank pages. That's to keep the preservation of the actual document itself. We don't want to leave pages out, so if somebody goes back in and says, you know, we didn't include everything, we just want it to be presented as is. Sometimes the blanks look blank, but if you zoom in to an area, you'll see words like compared, completed, or copy. And this is very important to surveyors that are trying to compare these documents and know which set of documents they are and the time frames involved. The who, as I said, I'm working with Indiana Geographic Information Council. We're presenting the story map and the ArcGIS Online project. I'm the co-chair of the Cadastral-Boundaries Public Land Survey System Workgroup for IGIC. And we've had a couple of other projects, but we won't be talking about them here. We have been able to achieve this project through grants, donations, volunteer work from myself and from Clayton Hogston. Indiana State Archives and Marion County Surveyor's Office have provided us access to the very delicate historical documents so they could be scanned. And the whole reason we went back to the paper was to get a better copy that was more legible and scanned from the original source document, and verify that that is where the information is coming from. We inventoried, digitized, and named and processed the document images. The cadastral work group and the surveying committee members have been an integral part of this, the Society of Professional Land Surveyors, and they have a fund that's called Indiana Society of Land Surveyors Fund that helped us fund the project. The what is the Marion County Historical Land Survey Document Pilot. And this is a live map. You'll see if you actually went to the map itself, this is what you'd be viewing. The project contains a map with links to 4 versions of the historical General Land Office survey, field notes, and plats. There are 4 versions of the field notes and plats, and they consist of the originals where the surveyor actually went out into the field, he with chains. They went out and measured all those township lines and range lines and section lines and divided the land into what's now called the public land survey system so that the land could be sold to individuals. The field notes and plats are the basis for the creation of the public land survey system, and all documents were digitized for this project. The project is in Indiana, and I had pointed out that Marion County was our original pilot, but because we're wanting to take this statewide, we included a couple of areas that are not considered public land survey. I refer to them as non-public land survey, and that includes Indian Grant reserves, or like Clark's Grant, or eventually the Vincennes area would be included, and eventually all the Indian grants would be included when funding becomes available. This is our, I believe, earliest document that we found so far, and that was the Clark's Grant original land grant document. And you can see here it was the official plat book of Clark's Grant from 1789 to 1810. And this was actually in the vault at the state library, which is temperature controlled because it's so fragile. So I don't think this has been available in the past. So we're really excited that we were able, that State Archives allowed us to scan this and get it out there to the public. Why did we do this? Because we wanted to create a GIS map that allowed us to access these documents. The public land survey system was surveyed and documented by the General Land Office, and one of our work group goals is working with public land survey system information. So we wanted to make sure that we accessed all the documents associated with it so that we would have a baseline to create all the information necessary for the public land survey system. Many of the GLO documents were hard to find, missing, not easily accessible, difficult to read, to say the least, with some of the older microfilm paper, and sometimes the documents weren't digitized. They were in 3 different locations: the National Archives, the State Archives, and county surveyors' offices. The project initially started so surveyors could access all 4 sets of documents for legal purposes, because Indiana law states that if the public land survey system corner, which would be a township corner, a range corner, or a section corner, was not monumented and referenced by a county surveyor, or the location was believed to be in error, then surveyors are required in part to obtain copies of the original public land survey field notes and plats to describe or the transcribed copies of the same. Clayton Hogston, which has been a critical component of this project. He's the surveyor and he knows the documents and understands them very well. And he did a survey in Tippecanoe County where he was able to access all 4 sets of documents, the original document and then the 3 transcribed versions. And he did a study where he put all the information together. This is an original survey note where they went out in the field and actually measured with chains up and down these lines. And he took out excerpts of one where this particular measurement is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong if there's a survey online, but this is a bearing And here you can see it's 15 north. And here it's 15 north. And here it's 15. But your your bearing part changes from north 41, north 41. Here it's now called south 41, and here it's south 41. And I'm pretty sure this is the original document. I believe this is the federal copy. This would be the state, and I think this is the county. So if someone was going out and just getting one of these documents and used this measurement or this measurement, it might not be right. And that could create all kinds of problems when you're describing your legal property. I'm going to slip over here to these slides for just 1 second. And I wanted to show you, I'm going to add this to the story map. When we're talking about these documents, we actually put together a naming convention for them, such that when you look at a file name of a document, you're going to have original document. It will be labeled with a 0 in front of it. Federal will have an F in front of it. State will have S, and county will have C. So that when you see this naming convention, the principal meridian is called PM. That was either 1 or 2. The majority of state is 02, but it's critical we include this because when you get into property that's within the principal meridian 01, you need to differentiate that. So you've got on this particular one here, it's original, principal meridian 02. The T stands for township. 14, north is the direction. Range, and that's the east-west direction. And then it'll tell whether it's a plat or a note. And you'll be able to, in the GIS project, search by township or range. And I just wanted to show this current day versus historical. Here's a historical plat. And current day, you're going to have a parcel boundary. Basically, these parcel boundaries, each one of these are described with township range and section information. And it all stems from when they laid out the plats in the original surveys for the state of Indiana. And so your townships lines, I said, the township line here would be north-south. And if this was a particular range, it would be along here, east-west direction. And this is just so people can relate to their property deeds and how important this information is. If you have a property dispute, they have to go all the way back to the original document. Or if a section corner for some reason isn't there, then it's important to have all this information, the historical documents. Example, if you had a piece of property here, your property deed would be described by the section, the township, and the range. That would be your parcel boundary, and then your deed would have all this township range information in it. Every deed, parcel, and legal description originates from that original General Land Office survey document set of information. Okay, I'm going to go back to the okay, so that was just some information that I'm going to include here in this story map so everybody's on the same page. Now, this is going to be how to use the map. Like I said, the live map shows up here. And what I've tried to do is show you the different icons and how to use it. If you're going to actually use the GIS map, once you're familiar with it, then you can go to the map directly. You'll have a larger screen to work with. And you can even open 2 instances of this map, because then you could have the map open and you could have another instance where you're actually looking at the document. it just gives you more space. But that's after you get to use it and you're looking for the documents, that's down the road. Basically how you use the map, this is your zoom in and zoom out button. You can always zoom in here, and now you'll see the different areas that we have in our project. The details here, that just gives you, if you click here, you can have more map information. If you want to go back and see the legend information, you can go back to details. And what we've tried to do over here is show you, here is this icon, and it's the contents icon. And when you click on that, you're going to see more information about the project. And each time I've kept this live each time so you can practice with these explanations. Here is the information icon. It's about the map. This is the general summary of the project itself. If you want more information, this takes you to, I did this earlier, it takes you to the metadata portion of the project and gives you all that information again that you can look at. So here you've got your metadata in your summary that you can access through your information. Your contents box, you can see over here if you click this, it'll show you your contents. And here, this provides you your drop downs of the different layers that are in the project. Here we have 2 layers. They're grayed out. The reason they're grayed out is because we aren't at the proper scale to be able to see them. So you can zoom in, see the area, then you can tell how the gray disappears and it becomes black, so you know that you can see the information in that project. And here, from this area, you have some icons. This show legend is this icon here. It shows you the legend. So the blue represents township grants and Indian reserves. You click on, if over here it says show table, so if you click over here, it shows a table. And this table gives you the principal meridian, which we're in 02, the label, which is a shorthand that some people like to see because it's easier to read. It tells you which county it is in and the file name, so you can see that this is a state source document, and then it gives you the hyperlink where you can access it on the show table. And I've already talked about the details where you can make the map larger, and if it's larger and you need to go back to the legend, you can do so. Okay, so here again, I've made the screen bigger, which is a little bit better to work with. You zoom in. It shows you your township and ranges. When you're working with the township and ranges, it's better to keep zooming in, because if you don't, you're going to highlight several of these. But all you have to do is click on one to highlight it. But like I said, it's better to zoom in a little bit. And there I've got labeled, you just use your finger on your mouse and move it around. It's pretty easy to move around. Here we got the townships labeled, and if you're looking over here, you've zoomed in. You've now got the townships. You can go back here and open all this information. Open the table. And so now if we want to click on, well, I'm going to go back over here in my description. When the township is selected, so if you select the township, I'm going to take my cursor, move it down. So now we're in 17 North 5 East. And like I said, the range runs east and west. The township runs north and south. So you can see 16 north, and then it gets higher, 17 north. This would be 18 north, and so on. This is 4 east, and it gets larger to the east. Is 5 east, 6 east. So that's how you can tell the township and range and where you're at. Now, I mentioned before that each document, there's only one document. It's unique. But you may have several links. Here you've got 21 links, not documents, 21 links that are associated with this particular township. And if you use the 1 through 21 and you scroll through here, you'll be able to see this is Marion County with an original plat for that township. If you scroll through here, that's a state source document. It's the notes. It's for Hamilton. Hancock would be east of that, and the state note, and it's in Hancock. Marion County, it's a state note. And what I wanted to point out here is we've tried to set this project up so that as we expand statewide, when counties join on, if there's a county document that for some reason, especially the county version, which would be a C, if you had a county version of the notes, Marion County is going to have a different county version than the adjacent county. Oops, sorry. So we're trying to make sure that when you click on a township, you get all the information that would be associated with that township, whether it's across county borders or not. And if the document relates to multiple townships, the same document will be associated, if the document was associated with this township and this township, which is the case in this one, let me see here. On this one, I do know that this particular township had an original document that covered 2 ranges. So there was an original document for Township 17 North, Range 3 East, but it also covered information in Range 3 and 4. So this document will be associated here and here. And the links will indicate that it's associated with both of these. And when you click on the township, you see below here, I clicked on 17 North 4 East, and now you've got these at the top. And you can scroll over here and see all the different versions of 17.3, 17.4. I may be getting ahead of myself. Oh, okay. You can sort these columns so that if you just wanted everything that was in a particular township, you could have all those documents associated with that particular township, and then what county it was associated with, and the link to open the document. So there's 2 ways you can open the document, from here or from here. And I jumped ahead of myself. Again, just practice. You open your layers, you zoom in so you can see the layers, and you open the table. And with the table, here you can show selected records, center on the selection, clear the selection. So if for some reason you're looking and you're going, that isn't the one I wanted, you can clear it, click on the township again, and it should bring it up for current or show or hide. And here we get to the document properties. And once you start using this for the actual documents, like I said, it might be good to have the map open in one browser and then another map in a second browser. And that way, if you needed to see the map and what you were doing, you could see the document and the map. That's just preference. So again, we go back here We zoom in, and I've recently added the sections so that if you keep zooming in, you can see the sections are grayed out here. Once you keep zooming in, about just below this zooming in, you can now see the sections. So this is Township North, 5 East, and this is the sections within the township. And that's so that when you're reading the notes, you can see which section they're referring to. Okay, so now we open the table again. You can, like I said, access a document. Okay, here, this is the section information, and we're not going to really deal with that, but if you need to, you can deal with the section. I'm going to zoom back out just so it's not confusing. But the section information is there if you need it, and there's the information that describes parcel ID is basically referring to the lot or the section that it's referring to. So if you want to click on a document, you can open up the document from here or from here. You open the document, and now if we go back to the story map, you'll see, but I'm going to step you through how it works. And as I said, you have to be patient because they are large documents because they've been scanned at either 600 dots per inch or 400 dots per inch. And when you open them, that's a lot of information. And depending on your internet speed, it definitely may take a while. Clark's grant is the largest document, and it's 300 and I believe it's 310 pages. And when you open that, you're going to have to sit for a while. But here, as it's going through its process, we have a tools icon here. And if you want to see the metadata on a particular document, you can open document properties. If you want to, boy, it's really taking a long time to open. And if you click on this, it's going to show you the individual pages in the document, each individual page, and then whatever page you start with will show up here. And wow, that's taken a long time. But you can play with the document properties. You have a print, and you can either print the document, but if you print it on your printer, it'll probably be pretty hard to read. You could actually use your printer. I believe in your print settings, you can do a print to a document, and then you can use that document to zoom in and out to be able to see that. Then you can also download the document here. I don't know why it is taking so long. It hasn't been taking this long, but you can download the document if you're wanting to see that particular document. And wow. I'm going to move back over here. I don't know if it'll keep loading or not, but like I said, you click here, you can see the document from here, or you can see, click on, here you're in the sections again, so you want to make sure you're in the townships, and you can, okay, it's a live demo. So I'm going to close that out. I'm going to open that again. Now you can access your Dropbox, the URL from here or the URL from here for the documents. And here I've showed you that toggle switch will show you the individual pages of the document. And here you open the document, and then you can just scroll down and see all the individual pages. I did show you, you can click on this and it'll give you the properties, and up here I've kind of tried to show that too. Here you can see the metadata. When you click that tab and you go all the way to the bottom, it will say document properties. You can see the document properties. And again, here's that toolbar for tools. Document properties is here, and then it'll show up there with your information about the document itself. Again, I just want to stress our ArcGIS Online Map. This is what this is, and this is our current project using ArcGIS Online. Once we have funds, we will have it transferred to IndianaMap, and it will be one of the many, many, many layers on IndianaMap, which then you can utilize this information with the parcel information and all kinds of other information. The document storage, right now they're stored on an IndianaMap archive, but we have worked with IU ScholarWorks, and they have a huge computerized system that we are going to, because of the historical nature of this, and it could be considered a scholarly product that researchers would utilize their information. We've been allowed, we're going to be storing our final documents on the IU ScholarWorks site, and it has a permanent URL, so hopefully we won't ever have problems with links breaking. You'll be able to search Google by the information that we put on this IU ScholarWorks site, and people will have access to it across the nation. The permanent URL is great, and it's a repository, so there's a certain process that we have to follow to enter the information in, but it will have the metadata and information about the project throughout, and it will be accessible through IU ScholarWorks. So you can access the documents through our GIS project by clicking on the township, opening the document. Once you find out what document you want to use, if you have several documents, you can go to IU ScholarWorks, download them from there. You can download them from GIS, whatever works best for you. If you're doing it for a county-wide site, you'll probably eventually want to use the IU ScholarWorks site. This is an example of the original notes and what you would find, just excerpts of the original notes. Here they've done a sketch map that shows the sections, and this is the actual measurements out in the field. And you can see they're in pencil, they're hard to read, but we've done the best we can in making them available. Not all of the documents from Marion County have been found, but we're still searching them. This is an example of the bearing tree information. There's soil information, you could say topography, stream information when they cross streams, and here's the actual plat. That's the original example of a document. And then this would be transcribed version, because they took those originals back to the office. They created 3 sets of plats. From those plats, then the federal government transcribed the notes and the plats into their note set and their federal plat set. And this is an example of what a federal note would look like and all the information in that. And there are 3 different plats here with the index. And this is an example of the state notes. It should have all the exact same information, but as I stated earlier, the reason we're doing this is because there are errors in measurement or transcription errors. So it's really imperative for anybody that's dealing with these documents that they have all sets. And this is the county version of the document you would see. This is our GoFundMe project page. I hate to beg for money, but we have to have money to continue the project. And if you're interested in donating, we would love for you to donate to the project, which would enable us to move forward with other counties. And this is, I'm not going to go there right now, but it's a Bureau of Land Management video. And it's just a nice video that you can go to that gives you a graphic image of what surveyors, I think it's out west that they taped it, but still it's the same processes. Okay, I'm ready to take questions. Are there any questions? Phil? Phil, are you there?
I was talking on mute. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah, I was just talking away. I would remind anyone else if you would like to talk. I'm going to go ahead and unmute all. Okay, it might get a little noisy now, but so I've unmuted everybody, hopefully. Quick question. I think you just touched on it there at the end, that in the GLO records, it's more than survey data. There's a lot of really interesting historic land cover, land use, landmarks, and land ownership data as well, right?
Absolutely. Especially the Clark's grant has all the original landholders described with their property descriptions. When the surveyors were given the contract to go out and do the surveying, they had a list of things that they were supposed to note in their field notes. Stream width, trees that were called witness trees. Those witness trees were along the lines being surveyed, and back in the old days, they used those trees as witnesses, and they would triangulate from those trees to that corner so they could close their surveys. Now, if there's a surveyor online, and I didn't say that properly, forgive me, but the witness trees, so literally you could go back and do a historical tree cover GIS project from these plats. I mean, there's stream information, there's Buffalo Trace information, Indian tribe information, original settlers. Depending on which document you're looking at, they were mandated in their contract to note even geologic features, soil topography, whether it was hilly or flat or swampy, all that kind of information. So it's an excellent resource for genealogists, for foresters, for geologists, all kinds of different surveyors especially, but all kinds of professions.
There is a question in the chat. Are these maps going to be georeferenced?
Which maps? The TIFs?
No, I think they're talking about the scans, right? The scans.
The plat maps. That's kind of why we're getting this out there. People can take these plat maps and georeference them themselves. I mean, if you have funding to do that, boy, we're on board. But we're talking time, and we've spent just for this project alone for the last, well, it's been a long time coming, because you have to go in, find the documents. Once you find them, if you're lucky to find them, then you have to scan them. It's not just scanning. We have to set up the process to make it readable. Then we have to name them, and there's a process to get them online. I mean, it's add the metadata. So we're lucky to just get this information out there, and then the end user can do with whatever they want. Ultimately, that was always my thought, was these plat maps being georeferenced, you can go in and digitize all the information off of them and get a wealth of historical data.
They would definitely be available to anyone, like Lorraine said, to download and do that. And if that was done, obviously sharing those back would be great. But they would never replace what's in the ScholarWorks archive. We would have to find a different place on IndianaMap for those georeferenced historic plats. But
if you did that and did all that work, we would figure out a way to get them accessible to everybody, because that's a huge amount of work.
Right. So there's another question. It says, when this project is completed, what is the time frames in which it plans to contain? I'm not sure what that means. I see. Would it only be late 1700s and 1800s, or is there plans to encompass 1900s as well? I think that's maybe a question about, are we looking at all the historic GLO documents in this eventually in this project might be another way to phrase that.
Well, to get this initial project where we're looking at the late 1700s to the early 1800s, to get that done statewide would be years to get accomplished. If someone, I mean, well, it depends on money. It's bottom line, it's always money. But doing it the way we've done it without any, because we really haven't had that much money on this project. It's pretty much been volunteer work from Clayton and I. And to expand it statewide, it would take, depending on money, either a year or could take up to 10 years because this is only one county. And if you made it past the 1850s where you kept adding all the plats, I know cities and counties work with plat information, but current plat information, but I don't know how each of the county uses them. But you could always tie the two sets of data together if you use GIS, and the in-between data, if there's time and money and somebody's interested, there's absolutely no reason it couldn't just be a continuum, but it's not part of this project.
It's not part of those records beyond the GLO.
Correct.
Those are totally separate animals. Local, either municipality or a county would have those, but there's no federal initiative. There's no GLO that's kept track of those since this original.
Yes, the original. Now within the counties, the dates on the county general land office information might actually migrate into the late 1800s, but that's only because the county boundary changed or something about the notes changed, or they didn't actually do the surveys until mid 1800s, because different counties became counties throughout the 1800s. So, but this project itself is mainly dealing with the original public land survey or the grants, Indian reserves, when they were created and measured.
Just to add to Lorraine's comment there about, this is for Marion County, this was our pilot. We initially tried to find funds to do this work statewide. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not, over $1 million to do this statewide. There was no source for any kind of funding like that. It's not that we don't want a statewide coverage. It's that there's no real funding source at that level. So we're looking at this as a county-based initiative with a cooperative work with the counties, who the surveyors and other folks have already started and already collect and have their own county records and may have a copy of the state records, and looking for collaborations to move forward to basically start adding to the map of Indiana, beyond this. And we've already had a conversation with one of the chapters of ISPLS, which is currently doing a 6-county project themselves to digitize and georeference their records. So, there are initiatives already going on that we would like to obviously bring to the table, and then using this as a template, share how we can bring that to completing eventually a statewide layer.
And there are about, I think, 9 total counties that have federal records that will be adding with funding. We'll be adding to this. So you'll have, I believe, 9 counties worth of federal records that we'll be able to add to this project as soon as we get everything worked out with IU ScholarWorks, which hopefully will be soon. So, and that's not their fault at this point. We have changed some of our processes and found that our documents needed to either be named something different, or the way we set up the process needed to be changed, because once we store them on an IU, it's permanent and they won't be removed. So we need to get everything ironed out up front. And then IU Scholar Works is going to set up something for us to be able to enter our documents so that you'll be able to access them from there also. But that will be a little bit longer.
Yeah. And that we can't underestimate the value of the IU Scholar Works as being a permanent historic archive with a permanent URL link to these records. Once it's in the Scholar Works, it's never going to go away. Whatever the technology might be, 100 years from now, they will still be supporting whatever that technology is to get to these historic records. So it's not like those 8-track tapes or DVDs or 2.5-inch floppies and media that you can't deal with and file formats that you no longer support. They're going to in perpetuity support these historic records. So this is kind of a great wayback machine to archive these records and getting them from the Indiana Historic Society into the Indiana State Library into a digital format is also a huge step in preserving some of these paper documents because they're not getting any younger.
And they have been, I can't express our gratitude to our state archives for their assistance in this project. I mean, if they hadn't been willing to assist us in finding the documents, this wouldn't have happened either. So we've recently found some new documents that have never been seen to my knowledge. So the longer we do this, the more information we'll have and it will all be available to you. I mean, that's the whole reason we're doing this, is so it can be accessible to the public to use for whatever needs they have.
I'm not going to read them, but there's a couple of comments in the chat that I'll share with you later, Lorraine, where people are reaffirming the amount of effort to do certain types of data layers, whether it's culverts or land objects in the statewide. I think there's a number of folks here that truly appreciate the undertaking